Mark Victor Hansen. Mindset, mission, purpose, and passion. Before the phenomenon, he had a vision.
We're sitting in his office up in Hollywood, and he said, I came up with a title last night for a book. I said, what is it? He said, Chicken Soup for the Soul. I said, that's smoke. I said, what are you going to write? He said, I haven't got a clue. I said, I'll tell you what we'll write if you'll let me go 50-50 with you on it. He said, what would you do? I said, let's do the heart-penetrating, soul-stirring stories that I've taught you to finish our talks with.
Before the phenomenon, there were setbacks.
We went to New York to sell it with a superstar agent. We got turned down by 33 major publishers. What did we keep saying, everyone?
He turned that vision into the publishing phenomenon of the decade, with more than 60 million books sold in North America alone. But the chicken soup idea is just one of the many that has propelled Mark Victor Hansen into a worldwide spotlight as one of the most dynamic and compelling personalities of our time.
Here's the perception. If you say, I can only make 50 grand a year, that's what you make. If you say, I can only make 100, that's what you'll do. Now here, if you'll pay attention real close today, I'll show you if you can make 100 in this company, you can make $1 million a year if you're awake. Touch yourself, say, I'm awake. And it's easier to make a lot than a little, but it's all perception, and it's inside out. It's your desire. If you've got white-hot desire, you can go higher. In the business, you're either building the business, managing the business, or complaining about the business. The point is, though, if you're living below your means, then you're living below your privilege, and sin means to miss the mark. Miss the mark means you don't have a target. What did he say? No plan, no results. Bad plan, bad results. Great plan, great results. I'm asking you to have a wow of a plan and just keep building, because happiness, satisfaction, service, Cabot Roberts said, is the rent we pay for the space we occupy, is you're only happy when you're building. You're only happy when you're contributing. You're only happy when you're serving. And here's your question, and that's why it's so nice to have a meeting in a gorgeous resort like this in Traverse City, is are you working on a business or in the business? I'm asking you to write 101 goals so you're working on it rather than in it. Doing the work, you all are good at activity, or you couldn't have won the result of being here. And then the question is, how do I improve and make it better? Right? Because that's the whole game. Here's where it is. Every cause has an. Aristotle only taught the first 2/3 of it. I'm creating the last third here in front of you. An acorn has to become what kind of tree? Oak. It can't become a kumquat. It can't become a tomato. It can't become anything else. Now, if you've never sold $1 million policy and you write down today, I'm on schedule to sell $1 million policy, one is going to show up probably in the next couple of days. Point at your temples and go, this is interesting. But once you do one, figure out how to do multiple so you get a whole oak forest. A lot of people said chicken soup for the soul. That'll never sell. Well, I think it's going to keep selling, and we got a bigger forest. My teacher, Bucky, said real wealth, which is what you want. Real wealth is RW. RW equals I plus E. I is ideas. You can only learn more. E is energy is always recycled. You all know the physics and the laws of thermodynamics, that it can neither be created nor destroyed. It just keeps changing form. Just like you keep changing form. You keep morphing. Now, there's a point here, a couple points here on morphing. The reason I love Oprah so much is that she keeps reinventing herself. Every 7 years, your body's totally different. You got to morph. You got to change what you do and how you do your business. I'm asking you to write down you're going to sell $1 million policy. Write down you're going to get a life app every day. Write down you're going to do some baby policies as door openers just for fun stuff. Because what's impossible in your business, but if you could do it, Joel Barker says, would fundamentally change a business.
Mark's keynote message of possibility, opportunity, and action has created startling and powerful change in thousands of organizations worldwide.
Stories change things. Stories change people. Stories change lives. Stories are our life. And what we need to do now, more than ever before in history, is change our own story, change our corporate story, and change our future. I met the mother who started the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and I heard her talk, and it just touched my heart, and I've helped them raise a lot of money for it. Some of you know that she lived in Phoenix, Arizona, had a 7-year-old son named Bopsy, who was dying of terminal leukemia. Because she knew he didn't have long to live, she said, boy, if you could make any wish and have it come true, what would you want? She said, Mommy, if I could make any wish, I'd want to be a fireman. She went to the fire chief in Phoenix the next day and said, look, my boy's only got a few days left on the planet. His heart's desire is to become a fireman. Would you please help him? I think fire people are unsung heroes. I know that we have a few of them in this room. I think they and nurses are just some of the best servers of people, and they get not very much applause. But the fire chief said, you tell that kid to be ready at 7 tomorrow morning. If you'll give me his measurements, ma'am, we'll have him a hard hat like we wear. We'll get him a yellow slicker. We'll get him galoshes. He gets to be honorary fire chief for a day. He gets to go out on all the fire calls he can't help, but he's going to get to see the verve, vitality, excitement, and fear that we go through. Next day, that kid, Bopsy, got to go out on 3 fire calls. It inspired him at the depth of his being to live 3 months longer than any doc thought he could live. Night before he's to transition, the nurse, who's really enamored with him, sees his vital signs start to get weak, feeble, and start to diminish. She calls up the fire chief and said, our boy's only got 5 minutes left. I know that you love him like we do. Is there anything you can do, fire chief? What he really asked me to do is call you and see if you'd see him one more time before he dies. We believe in hospice here that says nobody should die alone. They ought to have somebody that loves them to hold their hand on the way out. And he wants you with his parents to be there. Fire chief said, you tell that boy to hold on. We'll be there in less than 5 minutes, but you must announce over the hospital PA that this time they're going to hear the siren screaming, and they're going to see the lights flashing. And tell them that we're coming to see our boy Bopsy one last time. And if you would, please, this time would you open up the 3rd story window? Because this time we're coming in by hook and ladder. When they arrived there, 14 firemen and 2 firewomen went in, and they all hugged Bopsy, and they kissed him, they cuddled him, they caressed him, they cajoled him, and wished him well. Fire chief is standing at the end of the bed, and Bopsy looks up at him and says, Fire chief, am I now really a fireman? He said, Bopsy, you are, and they heard his death rattle amid. I conclude with that dramatic little story for one reason. Every one of us has a little fire person in him that has got some wishes, some heartfelt desires that are unexpressed and unfulfilled. I would that you do the 4 principles we talked about. Figure out what you want, put it in writing, visualize it to realize it, and then mastermind to achieve it for yourself.
Mark Victor Hansen. Mindset, mission, purpose, and passion.
I want to be your voice for hire. In the old days when I was a little kid, Paladin says, have gun will travel. Well, have voice when thinking and a mind will travel. And what I want to do is be an insider's insider.
Why do you have to have a strategic alliance internally and then externally with the customer? Because if you're strong inside, you become invincible. In a Jack and Mark team, basically, I'm the outside. That doesn't mean he wouldn't be good on the platform. It just means I'm more the outside guy, he's more the inside guy. I'm a macro thinker, he's a micro thinker. One's not more important than the other. We're both equally important, just we do different things. A flashlight doesn't work with one battery. How many does it take? Providentially, you and I are incomplete. He loves line editing. I hate it, as it turns out. I mean, in high school, I was part of the class that made the upper half look good.